Everyone listens to stories, but we all listen from different places, right? So tell me in the comments, where are you listening from today? And hit subscribe. Some stories are more than just fiction.
Magnetic storms lashed across the surface of Virella 9, sweeping silicon clouds through the upper atmosphere and cracking the crust with surges of blue lightning. The outpost looked abandoned, but the sensors told a different story. Heat signatures buried deep, unregistered energy output, and gravimetric distortions that made Kyle Roran's suit display glitch with every step. The corporal back on orbit called it a mining anomaly. Kyle called it a cover-up. He descended alone. The auxiliary transport shuddered under the static load as it dropped him in Sector B, half a kilometer from the supposed reprocessing facility. The landing zone was blackened by plasma burns. Broken Zenthari drones littered the perimeter like the husks of beetles, their cores surgically removed. This wasn't mining. It was containment. Kale's boots echoed down the maintenance shaft, where heat warped the walls and air shimmered with ionized gas. His HUD flickered with warning pings, unstable power signatures, magnetic shear and something stranger, faint rhythmic pulses, like a heartbeat too big to belong to any machine. He disabled the perimeter lock manually and forced the blast door open with a thermal cutter. Behind it, the tunnel opened into an ancient chamber. The heat hit him like a wall. Massive generators throbbed at the edges of the room, feeding streams of golden black energy into a central platform, where an impossible figure stood, floated, suspended by containment fields. She was enormous, at least 3 meters tall, humanoid but not. Skin like tarnished starlight, hair that moved without wind, and eyes pure white, glowing, empty yet infinite. They locked onto his instantly. The readout blinked. Entity designation Serrah 7. Class Aurelian Titan. Status hostile bioweapon. She didn't move, didn't roar, didn't charge. Just stared. Kale should have raised his weapon, called it in. Backed away. Instead, he stepped forward. He approached the energy barrier, ignoring every warning in his suit's logic core. Static licked across his visor. His fingers hovered over the containment interface. Just behind the glass, her hands were bound in radiant manacles, pulsing with suppressive feedback. Her chest moved slowly, alive but barely. Her gaze never left him, and then he touched the panel. The barrier pulsed, a flicker of expression crossed her face. Her lips parted, trembling, not in aggression but exhaustion. Her body trembled, as if holding back something far older than rage. And then tears. From a weaponized titan, tears. The HUD glitched, emotional resonance spike. Neural synchronization anomaly. He didn't care. He whispered, "What are you?" The answer wasn't in words. It was in the pain behind her eyes, the shudder in her breath. The centuries trapped in silence, in chains, buried as a secret by the corporation that now paid Kale to guard this place. Behind him, the vault door sealed with a hiss. The comm crackled. "You are not authorized to enter this sector," came the voice of Director Vaughn, cold and metallic. "Return immediately. You've seen too much." Kyle muted the channel. He stepped closer. She didn't resist, didn't flinch, only watched, as if waiting, not for freedom, but for someone to finally look past the weapon and see the person. She wasn't just imprisoned, she was waiting to be remembered, and Kyle Roran, human commander of the Zenthari Defense Corps, had just answered her call. She watched him with the quiet intensity of a dying star. Still bound, still silent, but Kale could feel it, an ancient presence behind those eyes. The weight of her gaze didn't crush him. It pulled him closer. Her lips moved barely. His suit's translator struggled. No vocal output. But he read her mouth. One word. "Why?" Kyle blinked. He didn't have an answer. Maybe he should have reported her. Maybe he should have walked away. Instead, he pulled off his glove and pressed his bare hand to the glass. The field stung, hissed, but didn't reject him. For a fraction of a second, her hand twitched toward his. The chamber lights dimmed. Alarms began to pulse in the walls. Someone knew he was here. "Containment breach imminent," the AI intoned. "Level 4 lockdown protocol engaged." The barrier sparked violently. She winced, recoiled, the cuffs tightening. Her knees buckled. Kyle turned and ran to the control node. It was coded Zenthari only. His command clearance granted partial override. He dove into the interface, fingers flying. Data purged. Footage looped. Sensors faked. But the chains, he couldn't disable the chains. They required biological confirmation, director class. His rank was one tier too low. She groaned, collapsing against the field. He watched her fall in slow motion, massive body shaking, and it tore something open in him. This wasn't a bioweapon. This was someone who had been buried alive in light. They had lied to him. The mission, the directives, the entire purpose of Virella 9. It wasn't a refinery. It was a prison. He didn't even notice when the door hissed open behind him. "Step away from the interface." Varn's voice came in low and lethal. Kale turned slowly, hands up. Varn stood flanked by two Zenthari guards in exo-armor, rifles raised. His face was clean, pale, expressionless as ever. "You touched her," he said flatly. "That was your first mistake." "She's alive," Kyle said. "She's not what you told us. Of course she's alive. We need her alive. The Aurelian cores are only viable with neural integrity. You've had her hooked into the grid. She powers 40% of the planetary infrastructure," Varn replied. "That's not a monster. That's an asset. She's a prisoner. She's a relic," he snapped. "A weapon grown from the bones of her extinct race. She was built to kill us. The only reason she hasn't is because we broke her first." Kyle clenched his fists. "Then unbreak her." Varn gave a short laugh. "I should space you for that level of insubordination." "Do it," Kyle said. "Then explain to command why your prisoner cried." Varn's eyes twitched. For a second the mask cracked. "She can feel pain?" he asked, quiet. "You didn't even know." Kyle stepped forward. "The guards didn't move. You tortured her for years and didn't even check if she was conscious." "She's not supposed to be." "She is," Kyle said. "She's awake. She's watching. And now I've seen her too. So either we erase all of this, me, her, the data, or we fix it." Varn exhaled slowly, calculating. Then he smiled. "You won't make it off-world. You think this is the only prison? There are dozens, hundreds. This is just the oldest, the dirtiest. You free her, you start a war." "Then I better hurry," Kyle said. He pulled the emergency plasma fuse from the panel. Sparks erupted. The room plunged into red light. Sirens wailed. The backup system screamed as containment fields buckled. Serrah collapsed completely now, her chest rising in erratic rhythm. But the chains flickered. Kyle turned and sprinted to her, punching commands into his suit. His exoglove deployed a bypass spike. Its sparked, hissed, overrode. One shackle released, then another, and in that moment, with her hand falling limp against the floor, she whispered again, only this time he heard her clearly. "Thank you." The storm above them raged, but the one below had just begun. Serrah stumbled as the last restraint snapped. Her body, free for the first time in decades, buckled under its own weight. Kyle caught her. The impact almost crushed him, but he held. Her skin was cold, not lifeless, just drained. Decades of being a battery. A living core. She leaned into him, massive arms trembling. Her voice came low, raw, like gravel pushed through fire. "They broke my name." He looked up into those pale eyes. "Then I'll help you find it again." Behind them, the emergency shutters sealed with a boom. Gas hissed through the vents. Suppression foam. Auto-locks. Fail-safes built to contain a god. Kyle activated his field mask and pulled a backup rebreather from his pack. He held it to her mouth. She flinched, then took it. Her lungs fought for the first full breath in years. Her aura changed, less dim, still fractured but alive. "This way," he whispered. "There's a service tunnel behind the west chamber. I mapped it when I first landed." She nodded slowly. Every step was a battle, but she moved. Metal groaned around her, as if the very facility remembered what she once was, what they tried to bury. Red lights spun overhead. Alarms howled. Turrets came online. Kale fired first. Plasma bolts screamed through the smoke. The smell of scorched metal and melted polymer filled the air. "Keep moving," he shouted, dragging her forward. She stumbled, then stopped, turned, raised her arm. The cuff on her wrist sparked with dormant energy. A pulse shot from her palm, destabilizing the turret core. It exploded in white fire. She blinked, surprised. "Still works," she muttered. Her voice was gaining weight. Kyle grinned. "You're full of surprises. They left one thing intact," she said. "The rage." They pushed deeper into the underworks. Ancient tunnels beneath the refinery, long before Zenthari construction. Aurelians built deep, built forever, and this one still remembered her. Doors opened at her presence, walls lit with old glyphs. She reached out and touched one. A soft hum replied. "This place. It knew me," she said, "before they called me Serrah. What's your real name?" "I don't remember." "Then we'll find it together." Kyle kept scanning the corridors. Drones would be coming soon. Vaughn would have called reinforcements. But they had one advantage now, the map he had memorized. And her. She was weak, but every minute she grew stronger. "Why did you help me?" she asked, not looking at him. "Because you looked at me," Kyle answered, "like I was more than the uniform." She stopped, turned. Her hand, massive, calloused but trembling, reached toward his face. She touched the side of his helmet. "I saw fire in you. But it didn't burn me." Her words hit deeper than any bolt. Then the moment shattered. "Motion alarms. 6 blips incoming. Combat units." Kyle grabbed her wrist. "Time to move." They ducked into a drainage tunnel, crawling through steam vents and heat exchangers. Gale's suit warned of thermal overload, but he kept moving. She followed behind, almost crawling to fit. He looked back. Her body was changing, muscles realigning, core temperatures rising. "You're healing," he whispered. "You're adapting." "They broke me," she said. But not all the way. The tunnel opened into a shaft of light, real light. Surface breach. Kale checked his tracker. They were beneath the western cliffs. If they climbed now, they could reach the old smuggler paths. But it would be open sky, no cover. She hesitated. Her eyes narrowed toward the light. "Sunlight," she murmured. "I haven't felt it in centuries." "Let's get you to it," Kyle said. "And then we run. Together." "Always," she nodded once, then stepped into the shaft. And the light kissed her skin. For the first time in a long time, the world didn't recoil. It welcomed her. Wind screamed through the fractured shaft as Kale hauled himself up, fingers finding slick holds on ancient stone fused with alien alloy. Serrah climbed beside him, her massive hands carving impressions into the wall as if the rock itself softened at her touch. Every movement sent tremors through her frame, pain, exhaustion, awakening. Above them, sunlight slashed the edges of the opening like a blade. Kale's HUD flickered with hostile pings. Zenthari drones swarmed the upper ledge, triangulating firing vectors. He cursed under his breath. "They're coming," he said. "Too many," she murmured. "Not yet," Kyle snapped, forcing himself upward. His muscles burned under the exosuit, but he refused to slow. "You've been a prisoner for decades. You're not dying in a hole." They reached the rim just as the first drone leaned over, its plasma muzzle whining. Kale fired mid-climb. The bolt tore the machine in half, sending fragments raining down. Serrah seized the ledge with both hands and heaved herself up, landing on the plateau like a falling comet. Her foot cracked the stone. The remaining drones opened fire. Plasma bolts hissed through the dust. Kale rolled out, returning fire, but their shields adapted. He toggled through ammo, saw nothing that would break them. "Get down!" he shouted. But Serrah stood. Her eyes went white. No, brighter than white, like twin stars about to collapse. She raised her arms, and for a moment the chains still welded to her wrists glowed like molten brands. Then the air detonated. A ripple of force burst from her, invisible but real, flipping the drones backward, ripping their shields open. Kale dove as the plateau erupted in a chain of explosions. When the dust cleared, the drones were smoking heaps. Serrah staggered. Kyle caught her. "You're going to burn yourself out," he said. She drew in a ragged breath. "I've been burned for centuries," she whispered. "This is different." Alarms echoed from the valley below. Armored carriers climbing the slope. Vaughn wouldn't stop. "We need to disappear," Kyle said. He scanned the ridge, the old lava tunnels. He remembered their map, ancient smugglers, hidden routes under the cliffs. This way, they ran. Or rather, Kyle ran and Serrah moved like a storm barely leashed. every step faster than the last. She was regaining strength at a terrifying rate. The tunnels opened before them like throats of dark glass. Kyle led her through spirals of molten rock, cooled into black mirrors. The air smelled of iron and old ash. His suit flagged rising CO2, but he ignored it. "Why do you trust me?" she asked, voice echoing off the walls. "Because you're not trying to kill me," he said. "Yet." She gave a sound, half a laugh, half a sob. "I killed whole fleets once. Then you can help me kill some bad memories," he replied. Deeper in, he pulled a palm-sized device from his belt, a sensor spider. He threw it ahead. It skittered on 8 legs, mapping the route. "We'll come out near the smuggler's docks," he explained. "There's a ship hidden there. Old but fast enough to break atmosphere. You planned this," she said. "I planned to get out alive," Kyle answered. "Now I'm planning to get you out, too." Her massive hand brushed his shoulder. "Not an accident. Not a reflex." "You risk everything," she said softly. "You don't even know what I am. I know you're not their monster." She looked ahead into the blackness. "You sound like him," she whispered. "Who?" "The one who built me." Kyle slowed but didn't press. They moved in silence for a while, until the tunnel opened into a vast cavern. Crystals jutted from the floor like frozen lightning. In the center, a subterranean lake glowed faintly, fed by geothermal vents. Serrah walked to the edge and knelt. Her reflection shimmered, a giant in chains, eyes dim. "They took everything," she murmured. "Even my name." Kyle crouched beside her. "Then take it back." She turned, pale eyes meeting his. "With you?" "With me." Above them, the tunnel roof trembled with the sound of approaching craft. Time was running out. Kyle rose, offering his hand. She placed hers over it, massive, trembling, yet gentle. Together, they stepped into the crystal-lit dark. Chasing the thin promise of escape, the cavern's far end opened into a jagged fissure where the smuggler's dock lay hidden under centuries of collapsed basalt. Kyle's sensor spider crawled ahead and projected a faint hologram of the dockyard, an ancient vessel embedded in the rock like a fossil. The Vortex Womb, a legend among off-grid runners, said to have been built by the first Aurelians who fled the war. Its hull was matte black, inscribed with spiraling runes that faintly pulsed as Serrah approached. She stopped, staring at it as if seeing a ghost. "This ship," she whispered, "was meant to take my people away. They never made it." Kyle touched the access panel. It flickered to life under his palm. "Then let's finish what they started." Behind them, the tunnel walls shook with distant concussions. Zentari dropships, drones. Vaughn was coming. Serrah stepped onto the deck, her chains dragging, her aura shimmering like heat-off metal. She looked at Kyle. "If I enter this ship, I will wake it. It will know what I am." "Then wake it," Kyle said. "Better a living ship than a dead planet." Above, a thunderclap rolled through the tunnels. Lights cut across the cavern ceiling, armored skimmers descending on grav plumes. Vaughn's voice boomed over the loudspeakers. "Kel Roran, step away from the asset. This is your final warning." Kyle climbed the gangway, slamming his fist against the ancient controls. "Not an asset," he muttered. The Vortex Womb's interior came alive, dust lifting, consoles sparking. A low hum vibrated through the floor, resonating with Serrah's heartbeat. She stepped inside, eyes closing as the runes brightened under her feet. The ship recognized her. Chains fell from her wrists, clattering like dead serpents. She straightened to her full height, no longer a prisoner but a queen rising from burial. "You will die here," Vaughn's voice echoed. "You've doomed yourself." Kyle keyed the engine startup. "We'll see." The first barrage hit, plasma fire ripping through the cavern mouth. Shards of crystal exploded. Serrah raised her hand, and the energy bent around them, curling into luminous arcs. "I can hold it for a moment," she said. "But once the ship lifts, they'll all fire." "Then I'll make sure we're gone before that," Kyle said. He sprinted to the helm, the consoles blooming with alien script. His suit translated just enough. Pulse drive, quantum shunt, lifeweave core. He touched the last one. The ship shuddered. Engines that hadn't fired in centuries screamed awake. Serrah moved to the center dais. Her palm pressed into a slot shaped like her hand. Energy lanced up her arm, merging with her pulse. The ship's runes blazed. "You're connected," Kyle said. "I am the ship," she replied, voice layered, echoing through the hull. "And it is me." Outside, Vaughn's carriers poured into the cavern, their cannons spitting fire. Kyle strapped himself to the pilot's cradle. "Then fly us out of here. Hold on," she whispered. The vortex womb tore free from the rock in a cascade of stone and steam. Gravshock rippled across the cavern, flipping drones and skimmers into the walls. Vaughn's face flickered on a holofeed, shouting something lost in static as his forces scrambled. Serrah's eyes blazed brighter. The ship surged upward, ripping through the collapsed ceiling into the open sky. Sunlight poured in. For the first time since her capture, it touched her skin without a barrier. She lifted her face to it and laughed, a sound like rolling thunder. Kyle felt the deck tremble under his boots, the engines pushing beyond design. Zenthari interceptors rose from the horizon. The vortex womb's weapons, dormant for eons, unfurled like wings. Plasma lances, rail pods, grav mines. Serrah's voice was calm. "They will not stop us." "Then don't hold back," Kyle said. The ship roared. Beams of coherent light ripped through the interceptors, tearing them apart. The sky burned with falling debris. Vaughn's command cruiser appeared above the clouds, a behemoth bristling with guns. "He's still coming," Kyle muttered. "Let him," Serrah said. She spread her arms. The vortex womb answered, spinning a vortex of shimmering gravity that bent the light itself. The cruiser fired. The beams vanished into the distortion. Kyle gripped the console. "Jump now!" "Not yet," she said. "One last thing." She looked at him, eyes soft despite the storm. "We are not fugitives. We are a beginning." Then she engaged the shunt. Space-folded stars blurring into streaks. Virella 9 vanished behind them. In the cradle of the ship, Kyle exhaled a long breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. Serrah turned from the helm, still glowing but gentler, knelt beside him, enormous and trembling. "You touched me when no one else would," she whispered. "Now we're free." He reached up, hand on her cheek. "Now we're together." Beyond the viewport, the stars opened like a path. A new world awaited, unwritten, unclaimed, where their child could be more than a weapon, where a titan and a human could build something greater than fear. And as the vortex womb sailed into the dark, its runes shifted, spelling a name long forgotten. Hers, Serrah, at last remembered.